that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Isaiah.
Oh, hi, yo.
And today we are talking Promised Neverland Season 2, Episode 2. Don't know the name of it because it's not on Funimation, but doesn't matter. I'm calling this one The Calm Before the Storm, personally, because this was just way too wholesome. Not necessarily at the end. There are some, like, Emma has to turn into a hard-ass type thing. But for the most part, it's Promised Neverland, and that just seemed way too magical, enchanting, and happy for me. And I know Isaiah agrees with me on that. So I'm thinking that next episode or the one after, it's going to hit the fan, right? And Emma's going to need to pull out those stops of being able to, like, kill the little muskrat animal with her bow and arrow, but except this time she might need to shoot a demon in the eye. So I don't know how it's going to go down, but it's going to go down. Anyway, we're here to talk about it. If you guys like our discussion today, you like what it is we do, make sure you guys are liking this video, subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What did you think of this episode in particular? Excuse me. And what are your thoughts on where Promised Neverland goes from here? And make sure you guys are checking out our live reaction, which we recorded and put on our AoA Reacts channel, which is our live reaction channel. If you didn't know, you're welcome. Where we have that among things like Attack on Titan. Isaiah and I got a little special one that we're going to release, and I want to keep it a secret for now, but you got to subscribe over there and know what it's going to be. Anyway, moving into this discussion, Isaiah, hit me. What were your first impressions of this episode?
Honestly, like, scary because like you were saying it before, which, you know, like you said, I do definitely agree, where it's like the amount of, like, wholesome, like, don't worry, we got your back, like, it's all going to be fine, was incredibly off-putting, because this is not a slice of life anime. This is the Promised Neverland, and, like, people get eaten. And, like, you know, no, it's like, I understand that this season, you know, at least from my understanding, is supposed to be a tone shift from the first season. And so maybe there's an argument to be made where, like, perhaps, like, our expectations are, like, a little, you know, a little too cemented in how season 1 played. And it's like, that's just not what's going to happen here. Like, and not to say that I think, like, we're going to get a slice of life version of the Promised Neverland, but we could easily get something that just is different tonally. So it's like, they're still being hunted by monsters, and there's still crazy shit happening or whatever, but it's going to be more like, I don't know, the only thing I can, like, think that's popping in my head is, like, Inuyasha, which, like, you know, where they're just traveling through this forest, and, like, they're going to come across demons and other monsters, and they have to, like, band together and, like, learn to utilize everybody's skills in order to survive. But then obviously there's the whole thing about, like, the human demon societies, which we'll get into in a little bit. But, like, it's just weird having no other context, especially because we're anime onlys, we haven't read the manga, like, not knowing where this season is going tonally, you know, where it's like, all right, if everything I know about the Promised Neverland holds up, this episode is very uncomfortable, because it's like everybody getting along, everybody's, you know, happy, like, it is weird because it's almost like in an effort to, like, bring down the tension, it actually, like, skyrockets it, at least for me, that much more, because it's so unnerving. It's so, like, wow, they met, like, the two most helpful demons on this planet, on planet Earth, who are willing to just teach them everything, how to feed, how to cook, how to, like, make food, how to, you know, figure out what plants and stuff are safe to consume and all that. And, like, and then towards the end of the episode, how to hunt, and how to, where to go to show them how to get out of, like, you know, the forest and get into wherever it is they're trying to go. And so my thing is, you know, we brought it up in the reaction where it's like, okay, this is cool, and they do explain that the reason that they don't eat humans is because of their religion. But, like you were saying, it's like, how far does the religious argument go? Like, is that the same what is the reason that they're helping them? Because not eating them is not the same thing as helping them. And, like, yes, not eating them is indirectly helping them because it lets them live and do their thing, but they're going a very long way in regards to just anything after that to you know, to make sure these kids get. So I wonder if it's like, you know, the Sanju has this line to Rei where he's like, yeah, I helped you out of straight curiosity, like, it's been so long since we've talked to another human that, like, I wonder if there's, like, something where it's like these two want to get involved, and that's why they are going so far now, but it's like they just don't have that they don't have a cause. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't have, like, for Emma and them, it's personal, right? If they lose this fight, they get eaten. But, like, the demons are going to be fine. Either way, you know what I mean? At least, you know, on the surface level. So, like, that's what I think, or at least that's what I hope, because I really don't want these two to turn out to be bad, because I kind of like them. I do. And I'm like, we need someone on our side that is not, that, you know, like these two. And I hope that they're not just trying to fuck these kids over, bro.
Wouldn't that be excuse me, the ultimate kicker if, like, they cultivate these kids and everything and then they wind up turning on them, especially? That'd be the ultimate kicker.
Yeah.
And isn't it sad and ironic that we see an episode that's supposed to have the opposite intent, right? It's supposed to be like, okay, everyone could be happy for an episode, but because it's so like that, you know, it has the opposite effect, basically. Yeah. Really sad, ironic. But anyway, yeah, I am really curious to know about their religion, actually. I'm very curious to take a deeper dive on their religion, how it differs from the main religion, if it's like the same religion, if it's like a, you know, Christianity to, you know, Judaism to Islam style thing, where it's like they have a lot of crossroads, you know, within them, but it's like they're very different as seen. If it's something like that, I'm really curious, and I'm now curious seeing Sonju and the female demon, I forgot her name, the demon culture, right? Now that we found out that their backstory is basically that they hunted humans, and then all of a sudden humans rebelled back, and now the humans started killing them at a faster pace than they could hunt them. And, you know, they had to make this agreement. So I'm really curious to get the whole backstory on the demons and, you know, not necessarily the backstory, but like understanding their culture and how they run things beyond we humans. You know, I do find it interesting. Munjika
is her name.
Okay, thank you. Munjika. I'll try to remember that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see that play out, you know, in the course of events throughout this, and how the humans are intertwined with that. And now I'm like really jumping ahead of myself, but obviously I'm curious to see the humans on the other side and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Any other thoughts?
So one of the other things that this episode like hit us with in terms of bombs was just the knowledge of the state of the world, right? Because at least for me, I was always under the, well, I mean, you know, I never knew, obviously, but like my running, you know, headcanon theory was that like this was Earth, you know, X amount of years into the future, and the demons had sort of like driven the humans off, you know, like because maybe that's just the way they invaded and they had more forces or whatever, and because they eat humans, slowly just started picking away at the population until the remaining humans were like, all right, like, fuck this, we're out. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't know what's happening here with these demons. Like, they just rolled up on us and they're eating us, all of us. So, like, they just yeeted out of here. And whether the demons then were, like, captured a specific sect of humans and they're like, all right, we'll start with these and we'll use them to breed more humans so that we can eat human brains and stuff. But, that, you know, after watching this episode, we learned that the humans and demons had, like, a legitimate fight, which makes more sense to me, actually, because just from being a human and what I know about humanity and Earth, it's like if something came down here and just started fucking with us, well, of course we'd kill it, like fight back. So it's like, so they actually had like a whole war and like a conflict and stuff, and then they got to basically a point of like a stalemate where the demons and the humans were like, all right, let's sit down, let's get our diplomats, because like this is helping nobody. And they came to this agreement where they basically like, took the Earth and they were like, all right, here's the line, you stay here. And we stay here. Nobody, under any circumstances, crosses this line. And we cool. And like, so, but then my thing is, the humans that the demons have over, like, you know, on their side in the farm, it's not even a thing of like the demons and the humans are on separate sides. And then like, you know, let's just say, I don't know, even if it's like a thing of like because what I thought they were going to do was they were like, yeah, so the demons are on one side, the humans are on the other side, and they like trade every so often, where it's like the humans like almost in like a weird sacrificial thing where it's like the humans will elect humans to give the demons, and then the demons will give them like, I don't know, resources or some shit or whatever. But it's not even that, where it's like they're literally two different worlds. Like the demon world, nobody on the human side has gone over or interacted with, and vice versa. So like, and it's been, I think they said 1,000 years, right?
1,000 years, yeah.
So like my thing is that like, what interests me is like how they initially got humans over into the demon world. Like maybe they were remnants of when the deal was made and they just like didn't get over in time or whatever. So I don't know. I'm curious to learn about that. But I am also just curious as to like what this means. And again, I mentioned it briefly in the reaction, what this means for the kids going forward, right? Because, again, in my head canon before this, I was under the assumption it's like, all right, we just got to save Norman. We got to save, Phil and get all the rest of the kids. And we just got to get out of here. We just got to get over to that side because that's where we want to go. Maybe where that's where William Minerva is or he can show us there, whatever. But once that's the end goal. Once we get there, we're done. But it's like, obviously Emma and the company are going to be invigorated to like stop this from ever happening again. Basically, they're going to aim to shut down these farms. And that's going to directly fuck with the ecosystems now that the demons and indirectly the human side have working. So when they get over the human side, that's not the end of the storybook, right? And they're going to go over there and then basically have another conflict to deal with in terms of the kids are going to be like, yo, we made it. Those demons, what they're doing over there is messed up. Like, let's do something about it. And the humans are going to be like, no, what are you talking about? Like, no, this is part of the deal. Like, we're cool with it as long as they're not coming over here. Like, don't, fuck up this thing we got going. So it's like, again, this idea of like, of just like, kids against the world, right? Or like, how can they or will they be able to like literally change and reshape the ecosystem that the demon side and the human side have built? Like, I don't know, but I feel like, to be honest, that's going to be a bigger battle than just surviving the demon, because the demons are obviously A, jacked, and B, like just a ridiculous physical threat to these kids just in terms of like stature and circumstance or whatever. But like, really what that is like just survive, right? Whether it's outsmart them, outbeat them, whatever, just get away from them and don't get caught. That's it. It's a pretty basic like survival mentality thing here, but like that's not the problem we face once we get into the human world, which is just a weird, dark, twisted version of irony here, right? Because it's like once the humans get into the human world, they've got another problem that's arguably more complicated to deal with than just the demons. So I don't know. But I'm very on edge about how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, I think the only potential saving grace, because I had the same thoughts where I'm like, okay, you guys kind of got a tall order. I love your optimism. Love the optimism here. And at first I did have some similar optimism where I'm like, oh yeah, great. When they jumped up, but then I thought about it and I was like, all right, they're not necessarily going to play along with what you got going on and be like, oh, we brought the whole farm over. The demons are really pissed. They're right behind us. But like, you guys are cool with that, right? And they're like, no, like, you know what I mean? They're like, take them, like, get out of here. But I think one of the only saving graces to me is that if this deal was brokered so long ago, if it was 1,000 years ago, that because obviously humans don't live 1,000 years, as far as I know, they're like way further down the line in generations at this point. And so those people might not even realize, or if they realize, it's something that they just kind of shut out of their head. And once they see that like children are like, we're dying, you know what I mean? Like, and they're like, oh, sorry about that. Like maybe we should make a new thing here. I don't know if that's
that was like my grandpa's whole thing.
Yeah. That was the older generation's whole thing. We don't like give our kids up to demons to get eaten, right? Like, I don't know if
it's
that's
2046.
If that's going to be it. If it's like this whole cycle, where it's like it goes into the next thing.
The only thing that worries me about that is that like we're in like an Attack on Titan situation where like as the old generation's dying out, they like brainwash level beat this shit into the other kids' heads. Sure. That it's like, hey, you can do whatever you want in life. Just don't you ever think about crossing that fucking line. And don't you ever take anything from that line over here. Like, so now they're like, they see humans coming from the other side and they're like, like get it. Like, so I'm worried that it's going to be like that, where it's like, we're going to have to literally, it's going to be Attack on Titan where we're going to like fight brainwash people.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely going to be differences within the human population, just like the demon population, just like anywhere, right? Where it's like some of the humans think it's like, oh, we probably shouldn't let that keep sliding. And other ones are like, well, we have to keep this because of X thing. And the other ones are like, war, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably all different shapes and sizes of it. But it's just funny that you brought up Attack on Titan, maybe because I've just been obsessed with that show lately, but I actually do find an interesting parallel to it. Spoilers for Attack on Titan in 3, 2, 1, 0, where Reese dips and leaves his people because he's like, I'm tired of fighting. Like, it kind of gave me that vibe when he's like, they were just tired of it. So like, they kind of yeeted you guys over there, but like, they're all chilling. Like, they're okay. You know what I mean? I did find that interesting. End of spoiler. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see. I mean, last thing I want to talk about personally, unless there's anything else you want to bring up, was Emma's hardened moment, right? Yes. Where she needed to snipe that poor bird out of the tree, and then the whole flower thing as well, which was cool to get some backstory on. If anything, in this episode, we got a lot of info bombs,
Lore,
right?
yeah,
And lure on the demons, on the flowers, on people, etc. So I really enjoyed that, especially going ahead. I thought that was going to be something that got fleshed out later, but they're like, we're just giving it to you now. So it was interesting to see, Emma have to steal her resolve in that moment, who generally isn't a violent person by any way, shape, or form, or malicious or evil in any intent, but like realizes the necessity of having to know how to fight so that she could protect those that are closest to her, which is a hard but very imperative lesson learned in not only anime and life, but they really drive it home in a lot of animes, right? Where it's like you get your main character or a character that's pretty passive with that stuff. They don't want to hurt someone, but it's like, you got to understand there's every choice for something is a choice against something, right? So it's like in you not taking action right now, you could be condemning, and this is like this big moral dilemma, within their mind. But Emma realizes pretty quickly that she's like, you're right. It's them or us, which I think is interesting and draws parallels to the whole demon eats people type thing,
Sure.
in that way. And also relating to the OP where they're eating the rabbits, but then they're the ones on the plates and things like that. So I thought that was all pretty interesting stuff. And then the flower, right? I thought that was really cool how, again, it was referenced to their religion. I mean, it also has this nifty trick of draining all the blood so you can preserve meat longer. So that's convenient. But, the fact that it's like you're paying homage to the god, and to them, it won't, or at least according to the religion, it won't bloom unless the god accepts it. So I wonder if it's like, if they according to them, if like it doesn't bloom, that it's like maybe you did that out of some sort of maliciousness, or you did,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Or
like
it wasn't an honest kill.
Depending on how their god is, right? Like, so I wonder again, I think really I didn't expect myself to think like this, but now I'm super interested in the demon lore out of nowhere. This episode came up and I'm like, I want to know what the demons think. Like, what's up with this religion? Like, do they do honor killings?
Send me to demon school.
Yeah, like I want to know. Like, know thy enemy, right? So it's like, I don't know. I found all that interesting. I don't know if you had any thoughts.
Yeah, well, so I definitely, I think, to be honest, this was my favorite part of this episode because it was so, like, it was such a powerful scene. Like, the way that the scene was handled, I just absolutely loved, like, the silence, and I loved, like, all the different shots of, like, from Emma, like, from the back, or, like, then it's, like, her head, but, like, her hood is down, and, like, the shot when the flower blooms, and she's, like, praying over it. It's just the way that this whole scene was done was phenomenal. But like I love sort of like what you were saying, the larger implications that this could have on the story going forward, where it's like Emma now that they're like out of the farm, right? And it's like inside the farm they had dangers like in the house and Isabella and all that stuff, but like those walls in a way protected them from having to think of or worry about anything else. Now everything else is a problem, and everything else is something they have to consider and worry about. And she has this moment where it's like always remember actually, it's harkened on or referenced a couple times where Sanju is like, or where Ray and Emma are like apologizing to Sanju, like, look, sorry, we didn't like mean to come at you guys so cautious, and so whatever, but like we just didn't know. And he's like, no, that's a good skill to have. Like, keep that instinct, because every single thing in this world you should be cautious about. Strategize, be aware, like do not let your guard down, because you don't ever know. And I love that this idea that like Emma deciding to be the one to be like, look, if we, she even says it, if we don't eat, we die. I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because it's them or us. I have to be able to fight in order to get us to hunt, to get us food so that we can survive and don't just die of malnourishment. But also, if demons come after us and there's no way to outrun them, I have to be able to, because there's no other way. Fighting is the only way to protect my family, to protect these people I care about. But then you think about the larger implications where it's like, if she's using those flowers, let's say, right, like the parallel psychologically that it has to like, all right, well then what makes you so different from these demons? Because how many of these demons that do you know of that are doing this because they're like, they just like fucking with humans, or they just want to eat? Like, how many of them do you know that are doing this because they're like, no, this is part of my faith. Like, look, bro, I'm just trying to get, like, I'm just going to do a day, Sometimes you got to eat human brains, sometimes you don't. And it's just what happens. Where it's like, again, not to say, and I think like, there's like you said, there's a whole like moral dilemma that gets brought up here, because it's like, whether we're talking about stray animals to the humans, who the humans will eat stray animals in order to survive. We're talking the humans to the demons eat humans to survive. I actually wonder if we're going to go full circle with that, where at some point Emma or crew or company are going to end up using those flowers on a demon that they encounter, and they have to like kill it to keep it off their trail. But then maybe they're like low on food or something, and Emma's like, look, we got, if we don't do this, like the body won't be preserved, or like, and like, but then it's like, again, it's like again, the shoe is on the other foot, where it's like, do they, you bring up this question of like, in trying to get over to the human world, do they lose like enough of their humanity to where like it doesn't even matter?
Yeah.
And so it's there's tons of like moral like shit that this brings up, and I love this I love this conflict. Because so one of the things I talked about at the beginning of this, that like the tone of Promised Neverland, at least this season, clearly seems to be taking a shift and it's going in a different direction. But one of the things that I love about the Promised Neverland that's clearly from this scene still seems to be here is the multifaceted conflicts these characters have, where it's like this isn't like good and bad, like, right, wrong, evil, justice, like you do the right thing or you do the wrong thing. It's you live or you die. And like whatever you do to live and whatever you do to die is a mix of gray, right? But you do what you think is right, and you do, what you can to get your goal accomplished, whether that's protecting your friends and family, to preserve your own life, et cetera. But it's like, so with that being said, though, it does definitely tell us like where the kids are in their mindset. Like they want to survive, right? They got to get through this. And, obviously they're all vary in age. So it's like, I wonder how many of them are like actually understand what it's going to take. But it makes me all the more curious to, well, I already forgot her name, Mujia, whatever. Her and and Sanju, like what their thing is, right? Like where is the conflict for them? Because obviously they're demons. So I wonder if it's a thing of like, if they, they said they're like, we're outcast, we got, tossed aside by the demon community, we don't really care. But I wonder if they do kind of care. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing to like consistently always be fighting against your own kind. So I wonder if there is a part of their minds that are like, I mean, like, yeah, it'd be nice to be accepted by our own kind, but like, and so maybe that's where the conflict comes in, from continuing to help these kids. Or maybe it's a thing of like, like I said, a battle of like faith versus like faith in a religion versus faith in people, and so, yeah, like I said, the tone may be different here, but they're clearly the multifaceted conflicts here are still very much in place, which I love.
Fantastic. Anyway, folks, that is our discussion today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you guys are smashing that like button until it turns blue. You're subscribing to the channel. If you're new here, hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Share with your friends, because the more the merrier. And comment your thoughts down below. It's not just Isaiah and I, it is you. It's the community at large. What did you think of this episode? What do you think of The Promised Neverland so far? What do you think is going to happen in the future? And what things most interested you in this episode? Make sure you guys are checking out Dr. Bonehead's channel tonight as well. He is posting the next TOG rankings in the series, where we go back and forth and rank some of the best things in Tower of God, whether it be characters or fights or moments or abilities. It's all there. This time it's Joe, so definitely go check him out. Subscribe to him if you have not already. Make sure you guys are hitting up our merch store. We still have our deal running. AoA 2021 is the promo code at checkout for 20% off of every single item in the store. Yes, let me repeat that. 20% off every single item in the store. AoA 2021 at checkout. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas and samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.